Well, thank you for joining me on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Just enjoying the day, and I hope you are too. I'm going to read you a passage about the Lord Jesus Christ from John chapter 4, starting in verse 5. Eventually, Jesus came to the Samaritan village of Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside the well about noontime. Let me just say to you viewers, if you are going through a hard time for a breakup, whether you're the dumper or the dumpee, the one that's chosen to break up, or you're on the end of the side of it, for whatever reason, walking's good. Don't be frightened to walk and think and meditate and be grateful for life and what it's given to you. Jesus walked a lot, but here he sat wearily beside the well about noontime. And sometimes the things that happen to us, guys, are going to make us grow weary, but we're not to give in. We've got to continue to walk, head to where we've got to get. Goes for a lot of you women too, that you've got to work and do whatever you got to do to supply what it is for yourself and whoever else. And you're going to get weary, and it's going to be time to sit. So Jesus sat by the well around noontime. Soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Please give me a drink." He was alone at the time because his disciples had gone into the village to buy some food. Isn't that interesting? Jesus never rescued the weak. He healed people that needed healing and all this other stuff, but he never enabled weakness. There was always a message behind his help. I mean, I think the disciples asked him once for bread, and he said, "You go and get bread." You'll have children and things asking you for money and trying to bludge on you and scrimp on you, and it's up to you to be wise enough to say no. You get a job, you do it yourself. Don't enable weakness, because it'll just keep going round and round. Everybody wears out, and you're enabling people not to fend for themselves and stuff like that. The woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have anything to do with Samaritans. The Jewish people isolated themselves from the Samaritans. I've done a lot of work for the Brethren people around here, brickwork, and they won't eat with you. You can be working with them and lunch will come and they'll disappear. They will not eat with you. They just won't. It's not part of their religion. They're not allowed. And they knew I was a Christian, but their religion wouldn't allow them to eat with me. It's strange, isn't it? Now you'll find these sorts of problems with people that are, say you're a guy and you're in a blended family, or you've met a woman and she's got children that aren't yours. That's going to be a hard one, because children have difficulties accepting people that aren't in their DNA. They don't like people that are not their DNA. So if you're a man from outside the family and you've come into this lady's life, just be aware that the children possibly won't accept you. And how she chooses to deal with that is up to her. But you need to be aware this is what you're going to be up against. And try as best she can to navigate it, but it's really hard. She said to Jesus, "You are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink?" And this is about not feeling worthy, not thinking you're good enough. And this happens to men and women. And this is where I challenge you listeners today. If you've been left behind for one reason or another in a relationship, and you knew what the reason was and you were unable to deal with it, or you didn't want to deal with it, try not to take that problem with you into the next relationship you go into, if you can find a way of going into another relationship. As long as you've stopped and healed and allowed yourself to learn, you'll be able to know what the problem was and whether it was legitimate or not, whether it was fair or not, and whether you should take accountability or not. And if you do need to take accountability and responsibility and go through the grief and the shame possibly, or whatever it is that you need to go through to begin your healing journey, I would advise that you do that as quickly as possible, because that is the part that's going to bring your characteristic or personal structure into a place where you'll have more chance of being successful in your next relationship. Some people feel or say I'm not worthy, not because they're not worthy, they're just indicating that I'm not going to have the commitment, or I'm not going to make the effort when things really count for this relationship to work. I'll be a convenience for you and you can be a convenience for me, but when it really counts, I'm not going to make the commitment. That's what a lot of this I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough means. Some people say I'm not good enough. What they're indicating to you is, I will find an easy way out if I have to. If there's some kind of effort that I need to make that I don't want to make, I won't make it. And I'm letting you know in this language that I'll take the easy out. That's what these people are saying. When they say I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough, be very careful. They're trying to tell you in a roundabout way that they're not going to make the effort that you might need to have a strong, healthy relationship. Jesus replied, this is the Lord Jesus Christ, "If you only knew the gift of God that God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask, and I would give you living water." To what Jesus is saying here, if you really knew who I was, I'm not just an Israeli, I'm God manifest in the flesh, and who you were speaking with, you would ask, and I would give you living water. Now, it's going to turn out that this woman would have, if she could have, asked for the answers to having a healthy relationship. Because as we go on in the story, Jesus asks her the question, "Go and get your husband," in verse 16. "Go and get your husband," Jesus told her. And the woman said, "I don't have a husband." And Jesus said, "You're right, but you don't have a husband, for you have 5 husbands." So this woman was in relationships with multiple men. "And you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth." And the woman said, "Sir, you must be a prophet," and so on and so forth. What the answer was in this passage of scripture, the problem wasn't about who was going to get water to drink and who wasn't going to get water to drink. The problem was trying to help this woman come back into an alignment of self-worth, where she could have standards and know that she's got a right to be in a strong monogamous relationship. But this comes about by taking accountability and responsibility for the things that are out of order in our life that sabotage the relationship. It could be children, it could be gambling, it could be alcohol abuse, medication, porn. It could be, and this goes for women as well as men, drugs, sex. Obviously this woman enjoyed or had some kind of gravitational pull towards sex with 5 men that weren't her husband. And that can be a sign of serial low self-worth, inability to resolve or take responsibility. A lot of people get cornered into situations where they can't find a resolve. It could be with a family member that they're close to, that they don't want to upset, that's undermining the relationship and sabotaging the relationship. And they can't find a way to bring about a resolve. Possibly the person don't like you or don't like what you stand for. There'd be 1,000,000,000 reasons. And that puts a heavy burden on these people. And when there's a heavy burden on women, what you'll find is if they don't want to fix it, they'll shift themselves into a place with somebody else where these issues aren't present. And you'll wonder, you'll say to yourself, why did she leave me, or why did she move away? And the simple reasoning behind this is she didn't have the issues there, despite how good you were. There are no issues in that place. So it's really not easy. Jesus said, if you knew who I was, you would ask, and I would give you living water. Right now I want to challenge you. What is the barrier? What is the thing that you need to resolve in your heart and mind that's going to allow the living water to flow through you, the healing to come, so that you can rebuild your agency, you can rebuild your franchise, you can rebuild yourself in a way in which you can sit there and go, well, yeah, I'm worthy. I've addressed all the things that I need to make me responsible and accountable, and I can now be free. I can have the living water and just accept what I need to do to live out a happy, normal, intertransferal, communicational, interactioning relationship. Because whatever these things that you don't resolve, they'll divide. Unresolved is always the beginning of the end, because it's built upon divide. And a house divided, what? Will not stand. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales. Bye for now.